بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalam, rasulullah. Assalamu alaikum, everybody.
Wa alaikum salam.
Alhamdulillah. I want to thank everybody for joining us for our program. Manners program tonight is called How Did We Get Married? And the focus of this program is for people to tell stories about how they got married. You can't have a community without families. And often we talk about, what's happening with marriage, young people, people discouraged, divorces, and this and that. What we would like to do here at Manna is to shine light and not curse the darkness. So we want to shine light on couples and communities that when people are married, they're getting through. People are happy. You see our sister smile, our sister Ndola smile, Alhamdullilah, our brother Ayyub smile. So mashallah, so tonight we want to tell the story of brother Ayyub and sister Ndola Owuo-Hagood, and inshallah, we're gonna go through the whole name. But I just want to give a little bio on our brother and sister. Brother Ayyub Abdush Shakur was born into a family with a rich history. He's always been family oriented. Born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. Ayyub spent his formative years in Austell, Georgia, where he moved when his parents divorced. A loving son, brother, husband, and father. He's an entrepreneur with a focus in accounting. You like spending time with money in a room by yourself. Even in childhood, Ayyub had marriage on his mind for his future. When he felt the time was right, he prayed about being blessed with a beautiful, believing woman who would be a great mother to his children. Marriage on his mind for his future. Okay. So he went after what he wanted, and alhamdulillah, it is working out. So our brother Ayyub, alhamdulillah, thank you for joining us. And our sister Ndola Owuo-Hagood,
Got it.
Alhamdulillah. Hey, good. It's from Atlanta, Georgia, but moved to Senegal, West Africa at the age of 10. During her 2.5 years overseas, she visited 3 other African countries, and just before returning to America, accepted Islam. So we want to talk about her conversion story as well. Although her parents divorced before her time in Senegal, they were married when she was 15 and are still together to this day. Allah yarhamu, her father, may Allah put light in his grave and expand his grave. An artist, idealist, and romantic at heart, Ndola married her teenage sweetheart at 22. They were coming into their 15th anniversary this year. MashaAllah.
Inshallah.
Having faced unimaginable trials and obstacles, she still believes in the resiliency of the human experience, and that honesty, authenticity, and accountability are therapeutically healing. Thank you all for joining us.
Alhamdulillah. Shukran for having us.
That was a moment.
So my sister Ndola.
Yes.
Who's the sister of a good friend of mine, Sister Majida.
Yes.
Did I get the name correct?
Yes, you did.
Alhamdulillah. All right, so we're off to a good start.
Yeah.
No.
So we wanted to talk about your story of how you all got married. And I wanted to start with, tell me about your view of marriage when you were younger.
So for me, I had a lot of good examples of longevity marriages, not necessarily in my house directly, but around me, I had a lot of examples of people who were married for 30, 40, 50, 60 years. And so I definitely wanted that. One of the conversations I had with my father when I was thinking about being married was I wanted to be married for a very long time. He was like, well, son, you got to get started. And so, alhamdulillah, my view on marriage was something that it was possible to have a longevity marriage, a happy marriage. Like I said, even though directly it wasn't in my house, but it didn't sway me from my views on marriage.
Could you hold on 1 second?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I smell something burning. And
we understand you have kids.
Yeah, they in the back. I'm like, wait a minute. Smell the burning smell.
All right,
Anyway.
Sister Ndola, what was your view of marriage as a child or growing up?
So honestly, I don't remember thinking about it that much as a young child. Most of my friends' parents were married. I went to a small private school that my mother founded. And so it was a lot of professional Black folks, that a lot of two-parent households. I actually can't think of any single-parent households off the top of my head. People were mostly raised by two-parent households, very Pan-African kind of thing. And so I guess I just took it as a given. Like, people grow up and they get married. When I got a bit older, I definitely started to look to see how would I want to be married, you know, those adolescent kind of years. And I came from a similar situation as him. At a certain point, my parents were not married, and then they were married again. And so that definitely, there was a big lesson there. Like, you know, sometimes people have their kinks and their pitfalls, but you can come back around even with the same person. And then my grandparents were married for, 70 years on my dad's side. On my mom's side, they were married until they passed away. So it wasn't as long, but they were together until my grandmother passed, and my grandfather remarried and stayed with her until he passed. And, you know, so it was people didn't divorce. They passed away out of their marriages. And so while I know that that's not the norm anymore, I, like him, kind of came into this marriage with the expectation of, I'm not going to do this again. Unless a lot of one of our goals. Like, this is, I'm not getting married this isn't a practice run, you know.
MashaAllah. I like that. I like that. That shows intentionality when you say, I'm not doing this again.
I don't want to do this again. I don't want to get to know nobody else.
With that brother's beautiful smile, I can see why.
You know what I'm saying? I want to do this again.
So you all say you went to a Pan-African school that your parents, your mother started. Brother Ayyub, did you attend the same school?
So ironically, our parents knew each other for a very long time. Our mothers actually graduated from high school together in Philadelphia.
Right.
And the families found their way here in Atlanta together. And so early on, I went to Islamic school out in the West End. And then from there, I actually went to her mother's school.
I don't remember him from elementary school, though.
Yeah.
We were on a swim team together and everything, but I promise I don't remember him. I remember his sister. I don't remember him. Do you remember me from that? Yeah, not really. But we were little.
Hey, that brother said he had intentions on finding a wife at an early age. So I don't know what you mean.
Right.
He recognized you. Okay, so your parents knew, mashallah, I mean, your parents knew each other from going to school in Philly, and we all know the story of Islam, you know, how entrenched Islam is in Philly.
Right.
Did your parents convert in Philly or they convert in Atlanta?
They converted in Atlanta.
Well, my mom converted while we were in Senegal, and so did most of my siblings. My dad and one of my sisters converted here in Atlanta, and that was during the time that my parents were not married. It was during their divorce. And I believe that them becoming Muslim is a big part of what brought them back together.
MashaAllah.
Yeah.
MashaAllah. Okay, so tell us about you're a convert, Sister Ndola.
I am indeed. I don't feel like one, but I guess I am.
Wait. Okay, well, tell us your story.
I guess, so the main reason I feel like I don't really feel like one is because I was coming into 13 when I took my shahada. And so I was so young that at the age where all the obligations become obligatory, that's when I became Muslim. You know what I mean? At 12, 13 years old. And so when I talk to people who did not convert, they were born into it. Our childhood and life is what and what. It feels exactly the same. Like the stories are the same. The difference is when we were in Senegal, from the age of 10 to the age of 12, I observed a lot of stuff. I fasted for Ramadan. I would perform salah with folks. Like, I wasn't really saying everything properly, even though I knew some Quran because I was in Quran school when I was there. It wasn't really penetrating that much at the time. It was more just saying it and doing it. And I was scared to sneak and break my fast. And so the Muslim kids was sneaking and drinking water and eating stuff, and I was scared to do it. So most of the stuff that people kind of snuck and did, I didn't really get into, just really because I was afraid of my mom.
That's good. No worries.
She was like, while we're here, we're the only non-Muslims here. I don't want us to just be sore thumbs. And so would you mind not wearing shorts and wearing a scarf to kind of just respect the culture of the people? And I didn't. It wasn't I was a big 10-year-old. So I understood why that was asked of me. By the time I was 12, I was the size I am now. And I haven't grown since I was 12. So I understood that's, I was woman sized at a young age. And so I understood why she was asking it. And it really didn't bother me at all to put my kippah on and to fast. I would be the only person eating literally in the entire village. Everybody is Muslim except me and 2 other people that were visiting for a short time. So even if you're not fasting, you're not eating, ain't no food available. So it was easy to just kind of, get in on what was going on. So by the time I took my shahada, I was used to it.
Okay, so how did you go? So you all were there. You went there. Your family wasn't Muslim.
No.
But you're in Quran school.
I was in Quran school because that's the only school in the village. There was no academic school.
Okay.
And they was like, she can't just chill all day. She got to do something.
Okay. So how did you get to a point where you decided to become Muslim?
So everyone in my immediate family had become Muslim before me. Mm-hmm. And my dad and I were writing letters, and he was writing these letters to me, and I'm exploring this new religion. You probably are learning about it too. It's becoming more interesting to me. I'm thinking about converting to it. You should learn about it. And so that's kind of probably the thing that prompted me to be open to learning. So to start off, I was mad to be there. I wanted to be in America with my dad and candy and TV, right? So I'm
in that order.
I'm already in a bad mood in general. And so when he started writing that, before he started writing that, I really wasn't trying to learn about Islam in any real way. And so when he started saying, your sisters did it, it must be something to it. Now your mom did it, your brother did it. I'm thinking about doing it. Maybe you should see what it's about. And I was like, okay, well, let me see. And so there was one young man there, a man named Usman Dimson. I'm always going to call him out. He came to me and was like, why are you not Muslim for real? Like, honestly, why aren't you becoming Muslim? And I said, the honest reason was because there was maybe 30 or 40 Americans in the village. So that's the amount of people that I could communicate with. Everybody else didn't speak English. And many of the Americans that were there at the time got sent there for like a disciplinary reason. So they were there because of trouble they had gotten into in whatever city they were from at home. So as I got to know them and I learned their stories, I honestly felt like my behavior was better than theirs. Like, I'm not out here doing these things that these Muslims is doing. And so I'm better off being a kind of Christian is what I would call it. I wasn't really Christian because I didn't really understand Christianity, but that's what my family was. And so that's what I would call myself. So like, I'm better being a kind of Christian than to being a Muslim, because y'all Muslims, y'all be wilding. Like, I don't know what y'all got going on. Mm-hmm. He was like, that's why? He was like, oh, nah, sis, we're not doing what we're supposed to do. That's not Islam. Let me teach you, if you have questions, ask them, because we're here because we weren't practicing Islam, not because we were. So let me, if you really are interested, ask me your questions, I'll find the answers for you. And because I want you to not be Muslim because you don't believe in Islam, not because of our behavior. And so, so we used to meet up at school, and he would just be like, okay, what are your questions? And I mean, I had hundreds of them, honestly, hundreds of questions, everything from Revelation stuff to the difference between angels and jinn. And what do you really have to believe? What do you have to do? I was not feeling polygamy. I didn't want to fast. It was a lot of stuff. And that man, I mean, he wasn't a man at the time, he was young, but he literally months answered me week after week after week, until finally it was during Ramadan when I was 12 years old. He was like, all right, what's next? And I said, I don't have any more questions. That's it. And he was like, so does that mean you want to do it? Or I said, I think I'm ready. And so it was the final Jummah of Ramadan that year. I took my Shahada in front of thousands of people, because it's a grand masjid there. And so people come there during Ramadan. Yeah. And then my birthday's in February. So at that point, Ramadan was in January, going into February. And so my very first Eid was also my 13th birthday. So we were celebrating my Well, you know, they don't really do birthdays there like that, but it still was an acknowledgement of my 13th birthday being in conjunction with that Eid al-Fitr. And Alhamdulillah, I've been Muslim since then. So that's 25 years.
MashaAllah. Wow. So, so as a fellow convert, I can resonate with your stories. When you run out of questions, there is a moment of truth. Right?
Yes, it is.
Either I'm going to do this or I'm not.
Right.
Yep.
And if I don't do this, I know I'm turning my back on something.
Yep. And I remember I had another friend there who was born Muslim, and he was like, maybe you should wait to take your shahada and do some stuff and then take your shahada so then you can be forgiven. And I was like, oh, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, I feel like I'm punished for that anyway. Like, I know better. Like, so when you start, like when you have that moment of truth, it really is difficult to deny it for any length of time. It
true.
really is.
True. So you took shahada in front of thousands of people. I took shahada in my parents' basement in front of the angels.
That's just both though.
Right? Because you're right. There comes a point where you know if this is it.
I got to do it.
I have to do this.
And I don't want to die not doing it. That's problematic. And I don't know when I'm gonna die. So
right. You know, one of the things we talk about at Man is that, you know, the president, Imam Zaid's been talking about the fierce urgency of now, like Dr. King's message. And what would you say? So we're in the fierce urgency of now when it comes to African-American families.
Absolutely.
What advice would you give young people? We'll start with you, Brother Ayyub, since you were very intentional as a young man. For our young men, what advice would you give for young men who are your age? We're going to get into your marriage story in a moment. But when you when you were 15, 16 years old, if there's a 15, 16-year-old young man who's just, you know, kind of floating around, and maybe he wants to get married, but I've seen a lot of divorce, and maybe they grew up in divorce. What advice would you give?
I mean, I would start first with your family. Make sure that you are a catalyst for family. You know, that people, when they think of you and your family, you're somebody that can bring people together, right? You're somebody who is loving towards their family. Start with your family first. You know, even if your family is not so ideal, right? Especially your parents, especially your mother and your father, if you have one. If you don't, then your siblings, you know, whoever's taking care of you, really show them some genuine love.
Okay.
Appreciation for your life, you know.
So we're here. That's 16.
Yep.
Brother Ayyub.
No.
How did you marry Sister Ndola?
How
long did the feeling? How was it introduced?
It was immediate.
MashaAllah.
No, it wasn't.
2 weeks.
All right. So
he knew in 2 weeks.
But we got introduced by mothers of the community. You know, one of the mothers of the community and her mom, they were working together at a school, and I guess they were talking about me. And so
yes, they were.
And so her mom approached me like, I got somebody for you. I was like, who? She was like, my daughter.
I was 17.
You know, I was 19 at the time. And
he had been marriage-minded for a minute though, right? Like,
yeah. And so, you know, for me, it was just like, okay, all right, this is weird. You know what I mean? But okay. And so, you know, the first time we actually got reintroduced as teenagers at that time was actually at a janazah, you know, and it was awkward. You know what I mean? Awkward. Like, we're getting introduced at a janazah, but the intention was there as far as just introducing us to see if the first look was, you know, okay. First look was okay, so we had to a sit down with our parents.
It was just okay.
It was nice. It was nice. The first look was nice.
Alhamdulillah.
And then so we had to sit down with our parents, and they her father set the guidelines as far as our communication and stuff like that. And then we started talking, but I wasn't ready to get married. You know, I was still in college and things of that nature. So my understanding of where I needed to be married wasn't there, you know.
How old were you? How old were you then?
I was 19.
19. And Sister Ndola, you were 17.
Yeah. Yeah. And and so we talked for about a year, and then we had to stop talking. I wasn't ready to get married.
That's not why.
Wait, brother. Wait. You told me you were marriage minded from about 8 years old, right? Now we're 20.
It got real, you know.
Oh,
the responsibility of taking care of a family. You know, you need resources to do so. I hadn't quite figured out my resources yet.
Did that motivate you while you were in school?
Oh, big time. Big time. I got a little more focus.
Alhamdulillah.
You know, grades got a little better. But you know, we, again, like I said, we weren't ready to be married, and so we had to kind of cut.
So we're just gonna tell part of the story. We're not gonna be fully honest here.
Go ahead.
Hold on, sister. No, Sister Ndola, you're coming. We're gonna get so okay. We'll pause right here. So we're on pause, right? So Sister Ndola, you're 17.
Yes.
You're talking, and then there's a pause. Yeah. What's going through your mind?
So during the course of that year, of course, I turned 18 because it was a little over a year. Okay. And he was away at college. I was local. I went to Georgia State. So we didn't see each other that much, but we used to, you know, makes me feel old to say, but write letters and emails and stuff. It was that kind of communication, right?
Alhamdulillah.
That's like we found some of the letters not too long ago. Like, man, this letter's from 2001.
Wow.
2002. Wow. So the communication I thought was pretty good. And then I got ghosted. He just disappeared. And mind you, he was away at school. So, and because of the method of communication being so, you know, antiquated, even for that time, it was like I didn't have any way to reach him. And he just stopped responding to all my letters and my emails and my two-way chirps. So all correspondence was just dead. And so even though it turned out to have been a good reason, I didn't find out that reason until 5 years later.
Wow, 5 years later?
5 years later.
Okay, so let's get to it, man. What was the reason?
So, you know, because I was not ready to get married, her father approached me and was just like, you know, you all need to...
Don't talk to my daughter.
Cease and desist. It was basically what he told me.
Don't call her. Don't text her. Don't email her. Don't look at her at the masjid.
MashaAllah.
And you know,
you said we hear and we obey.
And I have a lot of respect for our father. You know, our fathers are very similar in their demeanors and characters, right? I have a lot of respect for her father, and so I'm thinking, you know, he told me this. He definitely gonna tell her. Like, they definitely gonna have a sit down. You know what I mean?
Right.
Nobody told her. I didn't know. I just, you know, I did what I was supposed to do.
We hear and we obey.
You know, and so she's very salty at me, you know.
Oh yeah, don't mention that name there. Right. I what? I who?
And this was 5 years.
Well, I mean, I was only mad about it for probably about, honestly, 6 or 7 months. I was mad about it. Like, how dare he just stop responding? But mind you, in the time that we were talking, I was not joking about the 2 weeks. Within about 2 weeks of us starting talking, it was like, okay, yeah, I think we could be married. Like, we know ain't nobody else can take us seriously, so we're not going to share this very far. But I could see myself being married to you. You fit a lot of what I would like to have in a spouse. And so we saw that very, very quickly. And side note, my parents met and got married 2 weeks later. And so I've seen it work before. I know it's probably not the easiest thing, but marriage ain't easy anyway. So
no, that's true.
Yeah, it ain't gonna be easy. So the fact that 2 weeks in, we were both thinking like, oh wow, we really could be married to each other. It wasn't crazy to me. because that was part of my parents' love story. Even though they had been divorced, they got back together and they were doing all right, you know, and as far as I could see, they were doing well in their relationship. They were together. They wanted to be together. And, you know, everybody was kind of chilling. And so it went from meeting to within 2 weeks talking about, okay, yeah, one day we're going to be married, to a year of correspondence and letters and emails to nothing. And I was not pleased with that.
Okay. And later you find out why. So let's go. 5 years later, how do we re-engage with each other?
5 years later, there was a Riyadh, this kind of sporting event that's put on by Imam Jamil's community, and it changes cities throughout the country. So it was in Flint, Michigan this year. And I never really wanted to go to Flint, but Majida was like, let's go. And my dad was like, y'all not going to Flint by yourself. So he took us.
Yeah.
He took us to Flint, and this guy was there eyeballing me. And I was like, look elsewhere. Like, you lost your chance, sir. Like, absolutely not. And so when we got back to Atlanta, my dad came up to me like, hey, I had a interesting conversation with Brother Ayyub. He's interested in you again. And I was like, nah. And he said, why? And I was like, I really don't want to talk about it, but I'm not interested in Ayyub at all. And so he was like, okay, that's fine. So I don't know what they talked about, or what. I think it was more my dad and his dad talked. And my dad came back to me and was like, you know, Ayyub seems like he's a decent guy. Maybe we should, you know. And I said, okay, maybe. And he said, okay, well, this is my condition. Y'all have to get intended right away. And I said, absolutely not. I said, I haven't talked to him in 5 years. I don't know if there's still any interest. I don't know what kind of person he is. 5 years is a long time. From 19 to 23, 24.
True.
I don't know what kind of person he is. And so I was like, I'm not going to agree to that. Because while I'm intended to this guy, somebody else might come along who I can't entertain, because once you're intended, you know, for a woman, you can't be intended for one person,
right?
Or be intended and talk to somebody else. And so I was like, I don't agree to that. So my dad came back and was like, okay, that's fair. That was a little bit unreasonable. So here's the criteria. You know, it's nothing new, nothing that we didn't already know. And that was in about July. I think we were engaged in October and we were married in December.
Yeah.
It was real fun.
All right, so you saw each other in July in Flint. And you were engaged in October and married in December.
Yeah. So she wasn't mad at me no more, brother.
I wasn't mad at you.
I guess all of that kind of fell off, right?
So I found out what happened.
You had me at hello.
My dad told him not to talk to me. And as a 19-year-old man who wanted to pursue this woman, listen to her dad at 19, I was like, oh, that's actually kind of dope. I was like, okay, that's respectable. Dad, I got a word with you. Why you didn't tell me? And he was like, oh, we didn't tell you that? Oh, wow. Playing games. I found out. You know.
Alhamdulillah, it worked out.
It worked out.
It worked out.
Yeah.
So that was 15, going on 15 years ago.
So we're at 15 years for when we reconnected, because it's into July now. So yeah.
Okay, so 15 years ago,
you
reconnected.
Yeah.
What would you say if you all were to meet two young people who were in your position and who said, in 2 weeks' time, Brother Ayyub, I met this sister Fatima 2 weeks ago, brother. What would you say?
You know, our story is different because of the familiarity. You know, our families are very close. Like her aunt has been my doctor my whole life. You know, it's very close. So it's hard for me to fathom someone meeting someone 2 weeks and saying they want to get married. But I've seen it done. You know, there's countless examples of it being done. So I wouldn't discourage it. I would just advise them to seek some marital counseling first.
Yes.
Before you make that decision, go sit down with a marital counselor and, you know, work some things out, get some questions answered in a safe environment, and then make the decision.
So that kind of leads me to a prelude of, you know, a course we're starting here at Manna in September 1st. Inshallah. It's called Marriage is Half Our Deen, but what is the other half? The importance of premarital, marital, and post-marital therapy. And inshallah, that would be by, Dr. Anisa Nadir and Imam Nadeem.
No.
He was not a counselor.
Imam Nadeem, Ali, Alhamdullilah. No. So I appreciate you saying that, because for a period of time, I would call them, we had the Doha marriages.
No, yeah.
You go to Doha, hey, Ahi, can you come in and sit and be a witness for this? And we don't know what type of damage.
Yeah.
Because we don't know what kind of kids. I mean, I remember sitting there, and this was when I first became Muslim, and I used to think like, man, I don't know either one of you. Now, how does this work? How could I even hold it? I don't hold you accountable. I don't even know you.
Right.
So, alhamdulillah, one of the things we would like to, begin to start is having a process, for how to get people married. You all come from marriage, and you had 70 years. Your grandparents were married 70 years. And that's longer than people live. I mean, 70, mashallah. So
68, 70 or something like that.
Yeah, and you come, which means you come from that.
Right.
When that's what you come from, that's your expectation. Many of us, who come from divorce, alhamdulillah, brother Ayyub, you were surrounded by people. You saw marriage.
Right.
In my neighborhood, we didn't, people divorced, and it just becomes like, a cycle.
Right.
So, what advice would you give? There are a lot of people who are looking to get married, who may not come from, your particular, mashallah, you were blessed to come from the community you came, and your mother-in-law was very assertive.
No.
Which shows you one of the things, when we have to take this serious as a community.
Yeah,
definitely.
That we all have an obligation to help people get married. But what advice would you give to those who are looking to get married?
I would say, realistically, as a man, from a man's perspective, and I'll let Ndola give the sister's perspective, you have to be tied to a community, because family is the centerpiece of community. And so if that's your intention, you have to have somewhere for your family to go. You have to have something that's going to keep you grounded in that family. And the community does that. Early on in our marriage, there was so much activity and stuff going on in our community. It helped us, in our relationship, and alhamdulillah, I know at least 3 or 4 people who got married around the same year that we got married, and they're still together.
Yeah, they're still together.
Yeah, they're still together.
Mashallah.
And so that's what I would advise from a man's point of view. Go to the masjid, be involved in the community, and things of that nature. That's going to really ground you to be ready to be married, inshallah.
So communal life, being in a community where marriage is uplifted. Sister Ndola.
I think to his point, even if marriage isn't necessarily uplifted in the sense that you see a lot of it, there's an accountability in being a part of a community. You can't be a serial marrier, serial monogamy or serial polygamy. Right. But there's a community there, because there is that accountability piece. I think that it's a really good one for men. On the women's side, I think that it's really, really important that we let our men do what our men are supposed to do in terms of getting married. Mm-hmm. One of the things that really stood out to me when Ayyub became an option was the way that my dad pursued him in the sense of like, he went where my dad went where Ayyub would be. So Ayyub worked at a place where there was a masjid across the street. So my dad would take his lunch and go to that masjid for door. And if he's not in there, that's a problem, because he's across the street. It's no reason for him to not be coming across the street to make his prayer. He asked other men, the fathers of the men Ayyub's age, about Ayyub. You've seen this young man for X amount of time. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And there are our daughters.
So they jump.
That whole piece I think is really, really. Yes, we do have children. There they are.
There they are.
Yeah. So somebody's jumping the gun here. Mashallah.
Fast forward to.
Right.
Yeah. So we.
So
I really appreciate.
Gotta let the men do what the men are supposed to do.
Yeah, I really wanted to kind of put a highlight on that.
Yeah.
When you said your father went to where he was supposed to be.
To where he's not where he was.
Right.
He was supposed to be.
MashaAllah.
Many days. And at one point, I was like, Daddy, this is weird. You are stalking this man. And he was like, look, you're not the father here. Let me be the father. And I was like, you're absolutely right. And he wasn't no firm-handed kind of guy.
Right.
So when he was firm about things, it's serious.
Yeah.
It's a real thing. And so he was like, yeah, he's supposed to be here for Dor, and he should be here for Austell. And I might be after his work time, I don't know. But Dor is the middle of the day. He needs to be here, so that's where I'm going to be. He should be one of these masajid for Juma. Why? There's no reason for him to not be there for Juma. Right. And so he was there. He started talking more to Ayyub's father. May Allah be pleased with him. He passed away as well. He would talk to him more, just really doing whatever men stuff. And the fact is, he looked for things I wouldn't have looked for.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
That's very important.
The father point of view for the daughter is not going to be what the daughter is looking for. And he just made sure there weren't a lot of there weren't going to be a lot of obvious holes. Yeah, marriage is going to have some issues, but you're not going to have these issues.
It's very important that he went to your environment too.
Oh, yeah.
So that he could see how the men that you were interacting with, how they treated you. Ayyub, this guy's a joke. Like as soon as he come around, he joking with you, and you like, you thinking like, you want to marry my daughter, man? Everybody thinks you're a joke.
Yes.
But alhamdulillah, that's very important. Now, Ayyub.
No.
What homework were you able to do, or was the mother-in-law's assertiveness and you just knowing the family, was that what sold you as well?
Yeah, it was, but I also had some people that was like checking her. I got some older women around me that was like, "This is Ayyub." You know what I'm saying? Nobody him, right? And so they was drilling her too. And
I was like, "Wait a minute, I'm not here to be." Okay, fine. What else? Okay.
And so there was, and that wasn't something I asked for. You know what I mean? But alhamdulillah, they took that initiative because these women care for me. And I'm appreciative of that. But it was some people checking to make sure that it was a good fit for me too.
Right.
So it wasn't one side. It was very balanced.
Yeah.
Yeah. And would you say with some of our issues with marriage is that people aren't doing enough homework, or they don't have enough communal covering?
I think people
like you all were covered communally.
Yeah. I think that it's a little bit of both. But I think mainly it's about intention. What's your purpose in getting married?
Yeah, it's the wrong reason. People get married because they're in love. That's nice, but that's not going to sustain you.
True.
It's just not. Y'all respect each other. Can y'all communicate with each other? Do y'all have similar goals? Are y'all going to raise children the same way? How do you handle money? Do you come from an abusive background? Have you been abused? Do you need therapy? So many things that got to come up, and all of that stuff came up in our premarital counseling, and we were able to get a lot of stuff out the way early, and it not be real issues when we had children. We had already talked about so many things. That's a big thing. If you parent very differently, that could be a deal breaker for you.
Yes. So you all went through premarital counseling.
Yes.
With Imam Nadim.
Yeah.
MashaAllah.
Yeah.
So everyone tuning in.
Very good.
Yeah.
Everyone tuning in.
He's
first,
very thorough.
Same opportunity.
He's very thorough. Be prepared to get uncomfortable.
Yes. And with marriage,
it's advantageous.
Marriage will make you uncomfortable. There's nothing more humbling than being a parent.
No.
And nothing more like exposing than being a spouse.
Nothing more exposing. Lord have mercy.
There's nothing, when people may think like, man, alhamdulillah, man, he's a real good guy. Sometimes, brother's wife may be thinking like, who? Him? Like, depending on what has happened.
Right.
But alhamdulillah, there's nothing, but I will also say there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
There's nothing on earth like being married. Alhamdulillah. So with that, now, how do we go about, so we saw your 3 beautiful children. Tell me how you felt when you found out you were with child, Sister Ndola?
Lord. Okay, so quick refresher. We re-meet in July, engaged in October, married in December. Yes. Around April of the following year, I started to get really, really tired. I'm so tired. I'm too young and healthy to be this tired. And I was pursuing my second undergraduate degree at the time in preparation for going for my master's. So I already finished my first undergrad, and I wanted to do a second undergrad to prepare for this new degree. So we're newlywed, we got all this going on. And after a few weeks, I'm getting concerned, like, why am I so tired all the time? And just a TMI moment, I was on birth control. So I go to my aunt, who was, our doctor, and I'm telling her, like, Auntie, I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm just really tired. I'm eating okay. I don't know if it's stress of school and marriage, but I'm just way too tired. Like, I don't know what's wrong. And she's like, okay, we're going to do a quick check. She gave me a pregnancy test, but she didn't tell me that. She was like, just give me a little urine sample so I can see what's going on and send this to the lab. But she knew immediately what was going on. And so I just assumed that I wasn't because I was on birth control. I didn't know that I would fit into that very narrow 1% multiple times, but it's a fancy thing. But yeah, so she did a pregnancy test. And so my sister worked at that office at the time. My mother worked at that office at the time.
So words pussy.
Right.
So they come out the room. They come out the lab like, oh my goodness. I was like, oh God. So for one, I was a little bit embarrassed because all these people knew before me. But then once I thought about it, I was terrified. I was very, very scared because we were so newly married. Like we had just gotten married 5 months before. When I found out I was pregnant. And then within that week, I got my acceptance letter to graduate school. And so I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't be pregnant in grad school. Like, what are we going to do? Like, it was just a very terrifying experience for me for a very short time. And then of all people, my dad, who was a very stoic kind of guy, wasn't an emotional guy, but he saw me one day and was like, what is wrong with you? I was like, I'm just really scared. Like, I'm pregnant and we just got married and we don't got no money. And we weren't supposed to have children for like 2 years. And we don't know what to do. And he was like, we gonna not have the baby? Like, come here. So he like gave me a hug and was like, everything is gonna have to be okay because everything is always okay. Like, it's gonna be fine.
Alhamdulillah.
And he, like I said, he's not really a huggy, emotional guy. So him kind of taking that moment to kind of display my fears. It was very comforting because he wasn't emotional. He wasn't big on showing emotion like that. You would know his affection for you by the way he treated you, the way he spoke to you, but he wouldn't be like, hey, come here, let me give you a hug because I love you. He's a man of his time in terms of displays of affection. But yeah, he was just like, essentially, you're going to end up doing what you're supposed to do. So, take your breaths, talk to your husband, let me know what you need, but you're going to be fine. And I was like, I know you're probably right, but I'm about to be somebody's mother. Like, I don't know what to do with that. And he just really calmed me down a lot. And so after that, it was more about getting prepared to do grad school and have a baby. And I feel like we made it work pretty well.
All right, Ayyub.
So for me, I was like, oh, it's go time.
Right.
It's one thing for you to be responsible for another person and a wife, but then you talk about children. It was like, oh, it's go time. I gotta step my game up. You know what I mean? Like it's really about to happen. Like family life is really here. This is what you've been asking for. This is what you wanted.
This was those 13-year-old dreams, brother.
Strap up. It's time to go.
It's his fault.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there we go.
Right.
That tall one in the middle, I tell her she's a lost baby.
Right.
He didn't know that was gonna happen like that.
And wow. So, it was just, it kind of got me a little more focused.
Oh, yeah, very, very much so.
And the responsibility just got greater. And it was like, okay, this is what you've been asking for. I felt like I had a good, spouse to be a great mother to my children.
Alhamdulillah.
And I was like, let's go.
Yeah.
Bismillah.
Okay, so that she's 15. No. 14.
No, 13.
She'll be 14 on New Year's, inshallah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you have 3 kids.
Mm-hmm.
What are your hopes, dreams, and aspirations for them?
So, there's something we talk about often, and our job is to cultivate the soil, right? And let them grow to what they're supposed to be, and so we just try to teach them good manners, how to respect themselves first,
right?
Then their siblings, and then their elders and people in general,
right?
And that's our main focus. Anything can happen out of that, you know what I mean? And so, of course, we want them to be intelligent,
right?
And alhamdulillah, they're beautiful, and it's so. That's the main thing, man. Just making sure we're putting good people out here in the world, man. Because a lot of people who don't know better, and they move like that. Where our children, inshallah, they'll know better and they'll do better.
Right.
But we always say, we're not in control of them.
Mm-hmm.
We could teach them everything right and they go left. You know
right.
what I mean? Like it's out of our control.
Do you feel like, since both of you had, a very communal, I would say your marriage is pretty communal. I'm sure people in the community were very happy.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Do you feel like the next generation has that same feeling of community or, communal protection? And if not, is that your goal? I understand you all are moving soon.
So we're moving not far from where we live.
Mm-hmm.
We have a house that we own that I wanted to step away from a few years ago just to get a break from living in a house. So we rented for a few years and now we're moving back to our own house. But we didn't change communities in that process. So even though we moved out of our house, we were still kind of in touch. COVID definitely put a damper on a lot of communal things.
Yeah.
Everything got shut down. I think Juma just resumed a month or two ago, very recently, after over a year of being shut off. I think that community has shifted for our generation and our children. The idea of us living around a masjid and being available, like, it's just not most people's reality. And so we keep that in mind. We talk about that. And so we try to create these communities where maybe some people that's close to us live in Oklahoma or live in Baltimore or whatever. And so we're going to make sure we connect with each other in these different places so that our children can be exposed to the types of people we want them to be exposed to.
Right.
And have that be a part of their community.
Yeah. Yes. Brother Ayyub, so you grew up on the West End.
No.
How much did that mean? Like, how much of that did it mean to you to grow up in a community like that?
Everything.
Everything.
a lot. And, again, it's that accountability thing where it's like a lot of people put a lot into me. You know what I mean? And so I feel a sense of responsibility to at least provide that and offer that to my children.
Right.
So as much as possible, they are in the community meeting people that were at my akika. Yeah. You know what I mean? So they've had people at their akikas who were at my akikas. Yeah. And so that means, yeah.
It's really amazing, like, when you really think about it. So they have those connections. Like, you were there when my dad was born. Right.
And that's really that rich history that I like to talk about. Is not so much a financial rich. It's way more to it than that. It's almost priceless to have that kind of, lineage, where the sacrifices of other people were now my children are being able to, take, benefit from that and then not go underappreciated, so just teaching them about the history and things of that nature. And, part of that history is them having a business for themselves, because my father, he was an entrepreneur. He had a business that was very communal. It helped a lot of families in our community, and it kind of, uplifted the community at times. You know what I mean? And so for them, it's like they have, Their business is called Jazz Crafted.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you about that.
Yeah, their business is called Jazz, and they have a bath and body products, and their goal is to be able to offer opportunities to people that need it. You know, a lot of people don't want to go work for people that don't have their best interests at heart.
Yeah.
You know, and so our thing is to kind of teach them how to be good people through business, you know, and a lot of relationships get built through business, and you get to display your character through business and things of that nature. So we just teaching them about that at a very young age. Our oldest, like, she's 13 now. Jalil is now 11, and Sarah is soon to be 8, inshallah, in November. And so we feel like at this point, for them to have their own business is something that will build their character more than anything. You know, Alhamdulillah, it's doing well financially, but it's about the character and them interacting with people when they go to events and being told no, you know, and things of that nature.
It's a big one.
Yeah, and so that's what Jazz is all about. What's their saying?
So their mission is to so it's a bath and beauty product that likes to inspire others to pursue their dreams, make healthy choices, and to look good while doing it. And so that's kind of their mission statement. So Ayyub keeps making this reference to them, you know, the being good people thing. We talk to them about that a lot because, you know, right now they are Muslim. Inshallah, they will always be Muslim. You can't be a good Muslim if you're not a good person. Right. And so we did have a time when, in teaching our children Islam, the oldest was feeling a little bit weighed down. And she was feeling like, you know, Islam just has all these restrictions. And I'm like, well, actually, this is just being a good person.
Yeah.
This is not, Islam is one of the latest religions to come. This was already expected of decent people before Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Like, this is just basic good people stuff. And so we definitely talk to them about the responsibility of being a good Muslim starts with being a good person. You gotta, I mean, one of the reasons that he was even accepted is because of his great character and his honesty and how noble of a person that he was. And so it's like, no matter what we have going on, you always have that example. And so we're always talking to them about character, morals, values, so on. And them having a business plays into all of that stuff. Like you said, it really, really strengthened a lot of their strengths, honestly.
Yeah. So that real life practical experience.
Nothing like it. I mean, they've blossomed since they started doing it so much.
Alhamdulillah. All right, so we have a question. Where a brother says it's very hard to meet people even with involvement in the community. What and I know COVID, some of this is you know, like we were saying, some of the events, you know, some places are opening up and, you know, having some matches are having events again. Have you heard of any, and he also asked about matchmaking services available. I'm assuming since you all were essentially your community took the responsibility on.
I think that's what is gonna have to kind of happen again, because like one of the things that I was reflecting on with my sister some time ago is a lot of times young people don't take the advice of the community elders because they feel this disconnect and they feel like they don't really know them. So why would I listen to people who I should marry? And so if we can stay connected with our adolescent age, our early 20s, mid 20s in a really sincere way, when somebody comes and says, hey, I have somebody for you, you can at least give it an ear.
Right.
Honestly, the women that are his community mothers, I knew them from afar, but I didn't really know them that well. So they were clearly Team Ayyub, right? So then I had the Team Ndola people over here. And so it was because there was overlap. It was easy for me to say, oh, hey, well, let me see what she's talking. Okay, well, she's decent and her kids are decent. And I like the way she and her husband talk to each other. And you know what I mean? Just all of that stuff really, really played into it. And so so the knowing the young people and letting them be flawed. You know what I mean? Letting them be authentic in who they are and still encouraging them to do better. Because like Aziz is about to be 14, we already know she's not that far from marrying age. You know, when COVID breaks and we come back out into the world, I'm already prepared for a lot of young men looking her way, because that's just the nature of things, right?
Right.
Go, even though she's clearly not, for us, she's not of marrying age. I know some people get married that young, but inshallah, that won't happen for us. But it's going to start to be a thing. And so it's going to be more of a conversation. It's going to be more on her mind, more on our mind, more on the people around us. And so Ayyub and I have talked about like certain families that we've seen with sons, like, okay, we would be open to that family. But not this one though. Cause you know, and people act like, you know, oh, you're being judgmental, but I'm like, but I'm going to give you my child. Right. So yes, I'm being judgmental. I am. And I'm going to be judgmental as well. You know what I mean? Be choosy on who we're giving our children to. And I don't think people take it seriously enough, because they think, oh, if it doesn't work out, I'll just do something else. But it's like, no, we got to go into it in a real choosy way, not just because you love the person, because love fades, you know?
And so just to really kind of hit home with the brother is saying, you know, you got to really be in tune with who you're surrounding yourself with.
Absolutely.
You know, because you are talking to somebody who knows you. Right? Can they be your representative? So when something pops up, they'll say, "Huh, I got, you know, let me introduce you," because relationships happen all the time, and so you know, be careful about who you're surrounding yourself with.
And people watching you.
Yeah, and so that way you'll be prepared and open to opportunities. And again, make sure your intentions are good. Like I made intentions to be ready to be married before I approached her father again. Yeah. I didn't just approach her father again, then make intentions to be ready to get married. Yeah. I knew there were things that I needed to do to get myself back to a place where I could at least go pursuing somebody. You know? And so
it didn't have nothing to do with me.
Right.
He had to be ready for himself.
Right.
And then
she was saying,
right.
5 years. Okay.
Time to work out, brother.
We ready.
Getting ready. And that's important. Like a lot of people think, I'm just going to wait until somebody, you know, when a woman finds me, when a man finds me, but they're not doing anything to really prepare themselves. And so some stuff is just practical. You might need to fast. You might need to be making extra prayers. You might need to make umrah. You might need to move, relocate. It's stuff that we need to do to really get ourselves in the mind frame for the responsibilities of marriage and even the ease of marriage. There's a lot of ease in being married. And you know what I mean? Like, I know we talk about the stuff that fades and it's hard in this, but there's a lot of ease in knowing the person that you're going to be with and knowing what to look forward to and getting to know somebody so well that you don't got to ask for everything that you want. Some stuff is, a lot of needs are just going to get met. Yeah. You got to know yourself and you got to prepare yourself and be willing to be exposed. Like you said, it's so exposing. Yeah. And a lot of people, they hide behind like faults and flaws and they conceal parts of themselves instead of just putting them, being vulnerable.
Out
there and taking that risk.
Yeah, just to kind of wrap up a little bit, you know, like one of the major things that I did, man, was ask Allah. You know what I mean? I asked Allah. These are the traits that I want in a wife. You know what I mean? Allow me to prepare myself to accept these things. And I tell my daughters all the time, everything I asked for, everything that I got mostly, I asked Allah for.
Alhamdulillah.
You know, I asked Allah for a beautiful, believing wife that'd be good mother to my children and beautiful, healthy children. Got that. You know what I mean? So Alhamdulillah. So ask Allah. Whatever you want, ask Allah for it.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. No. I really appreciate that advice. Sister Ndola, you have some parting words?
I mean, that definitely is a big one. Even if you feel like, you know, your dua is not sounding all eloquent or whatever, sometimes if I feel like I can't make this really great dua, I'll literally, in a conversational way, just talk to Allah. Just talk to him. Just, you know, because he knows what we're trying to get at. He knows what's in your heart. But sometimes we might feel some kind of way about, you know, maybe we don't say this right. My tajweed isn't on point. You know, whatever might be holding you back. Just talk to him. Just reveal yourself. Expose yourself to Allah in ways, you know, in private. You don't got to put yourself on Facebook. But you know, put it really out there and trust what guides you towards. Because a lot of times we make decisions and then we ask Allah. And that doesn't work. You have to, you know, see what your options are, or maybe not. You ask Allah first. But yeah, I think that's really, really important that we take things to Allah more, especially a decision like marriage. Like, I don't know how many times I made Issachar and ask other people, like, make Issachar for me. Like, and make this special prayer. You know, I'm trying to make this big decision. And it really does make a difference.
Alhamdulillah. Hey, if you want to get your tajweed right, then contact your brother-in-law.
Yeah, with my brother.
Measured tones. Alhamdulillah, get your tajweed right. We really appreciate it. I'm really happy that you all were our first guest. Alhamdulillah, to kick it off. Next week, we're gonna go out to the West Coast to our brother Imam Sundiata Rashid from Lighthouse and his wife. I hope I'm not mispronouncing this. It's Sister Zawja Malik.
No.
Inshallah. So we'll next week, same time, 8 Central, 9 Eastern. Inshallah, we're gonna hear, a story of our brother Sundiata and his wife, how they got married. Because we want to celebrate marriage. Because marriage is a communal thing. And we should celebrate the stories on a communal level. Alhamdulillah, your story is beautiful. Make dua for us. Inshallah, we'll be making dua for you all. Brother Ayyub, if you wouldn't mind, sending us out with a dua. Inshallah.
Inshallah. Wal asr inna al-insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihati wa tawassaw bil haqqi wa tawassaw bis sabr. Ameen.
Inshallah, we'll see everybody next week, 8 o'clock Central, 9 Eastern. Come hear another beautiful story. Our brother Sundiata and his wife, Sister Drake Malik.
No.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.